Hey guys. I think this is working. We are in week 7 already, crazy but true. And I'm talking to you guys this evening, right? Week 7? I think so. I'm talking to you guys this evening after having read your drafts of Writing Project 2. And I'm wanting to give you guys, like I did with Writing Project 1, some general comments to help you guys work on your writing projects this week. Most of these comments I've left to you already in your comments for your rough draft. And if not, I'm just going to say this to all of you. Most of these comments do actually apply to all of you, if not most of you. So definitely please do listen, watch, or read carefully. Have to get back to my script. Okay. First off, if you haven't figured out by now that citation, meaning showing where your sources come from in your paper, is a really big deal, it's really serious, then you're figuring that out now, because I'm actually not giving credit for drafts that have not used a works cited page or in-text citations. So if I didn't give you credit for your draft, I promise that it's just to show you that citation really is that important and that you can earn the credit back. So first off, when you use a source, you have to put the author's last name and page number, if available, in parentheses at the end of the sentence where you use that source. If you don't have either of those things, you can use the title of the work in quotes or in italics. But you have to do this every time you use a source, and it doesn't matter if you quote the author, doesn't matter if you use the author's ideas in your own words. Either way, you have to put that parenthetical citation at the end of the sentence. Every time you cite a source in your paper, you also have to put that source and a bunch of information from it at the end of the paper in what's called a works cited page. You cannot just paste a website into the works cited page and call it a website. That's like laying a jar of peanut butter and a jar of jelly next to each other on a plate, slapping a couple pieces of bread on top of them and saying it's a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You have to do certain things in a certain order in a works cited page. And I'm going to be posting some links probably tomorrow, maybe tonight, but I don't want to distract you from this post. So possibly tonight, but definitely tomorrow, I'll be posting some links on the announcements page to help you with figuring out all of these citation things. So if you've received a draft grade of 0 for your writing project 2, know that you can make that up, but you must fix what I have asked you to fix, preferably earlier in the week, preferably before Wednesday. This right now marks the last time that I'm going to say anything like this about citation, because I kind of just turn into a broken record. You know, I say the same things over and over again about citation. If you don't understand citation, then it's definitely your responsibility to tell me that, because I can't intuit that, right? You got to tell me. Not a mind reader. If I were, I'd be making a lot more money than I am now. So, you know, definitely get on the citation thing. I don't want to drive everybody nuts with it, and I don't want to drive myself nuts. Some of you guys honestly have me going and banging my head against hard objects because I tell you to do things this way and then you don't do them. So I only think it's just because you don't know how and you're not telling me. Please tell me. Okay, that is all. If you don't cite, your paper is considered plagiarized, hence the 0. Make sure, please, that you double space your papers, indent your paragraphs. That means hit the tab key on the first line of every paragraph, and don't put any extra spacing between paragraphs. You don't need it. Okay, so enough of that. We'll move on to rhetorical analysis. That's what this video is really about. No one seems to know what that is, except a few. That's okay, because you're all very smart, and I have a feeling that once I explain it to you a little bit, you'll be like, oh, okay. So writing project 2 is a rhetorical analysis of your core reading or your core video. So I found this great definition of rhetoric, which will help with thinking about rhetorical analysis, which I'm going to say slowly so you can write it down. According to Texas A&M's Writing Center, quote, rhetoric is the study of how writers and speakers use words to influence an audience, end quote. So rhetorical analysis is analyzing or digging deeply into a text or a speech to see how the writer or speaker uses words to influence people. A lot of you guys in your first drafts, you don't have rhetorical analysis. What you have is like yet another summary response paper. You have the summary, you have the opinions, and rhetorical analysis is kind of opinions, but you don't have actual rhetorical analysis. So what's the difference? Summary and response are more like big picture things. And analysis is about the little bitty parts that make something up, that make up an argument, that make up a video, that make up the words in a paper. It's more about words and sentences, actually, and how they work, than it is about paragraphs or whole papers or ideas. So I tell my face-to-face students that a good way to think of analysis is picking apart something to see what makes it tick. How does it work? How is it effective or not effective? And then how do you know what to pick apart? Actually, your assignment tells you. Let me pull it out real quickly. If you guys look at your assignment prompt, you will actually see what you can analyze. Right up here. Let me see if my hand, yep. Right up here, it's telling you what to do and in what order you should do it. So I'm going to read this off to you. And that's my dog. Sorry, I have to make him go away. Nobody. Later. Go sit. Good boy. Sorry about that. Not in the script. So you want to be paying attention to what are called rhetorical features. A reading's rhetorical situation, its use of persuasive appeals or proofs, pathos, ethos, logos, or evidence, right? Is it using good evidence? As well as linguistic and rhetorical elements such as language, writing style, structure, organization, imagery. You could talk about any or all of these things in your rhetorical analysis. Okay, so I'm going to get back to my script here. So basically, you have to figure out what you think the goal of a writer or speaker is. In other words, what they want their audience to understand by the time they finish the reading or the video. And then you want to say how it's working and whether it's effective and how it's working. So if I look at the assignment for Writing Project 2 under the Explore the Topic category where I was just looking, I'm going to see these questions and I'm going to read them and understand that I need to talk about a few of the ways in which the author is writing. So word choice, the three appeals, pathos, ethos, or logos, writing style, imagery, personality, tone, and then I'm going to say whether I think those things are effective in the writing. It's important, though, that you don't just name a rhetorical feature. So you don't just say the tone is dark, or there's a lot of humor, or, this author tells a bunch of stories and weaves them together. You can't just say that and then drop a quote in there and say, okay, good day, and then move on to the next thing. You actually have to show that the feature you're talking about is doing what you're saying it does, if that makes sense. So how do you do that? This is very important. You want to give your readers, like me, a specific instance, a specific quote, for example, and then explain how the feature you're talking about works. It will help if you pull out a little chunk of a quote and explain, for example, how the words chosen for that quote are somehow brilliant or idiotic, whatever you want. With a video, you can talk about the speaker's intonation. In a story, you can talk about the author's organization, style, self-pity. Also, don't be afraid of the whole pathos, ethos, logos thing. Pathos means emotion, ethos means trust or character, and logos means logic, reasoning, or common sense. So if I say Robinson uses pathos to, I mean that Robinson is trying to tug at people's emotions. If I say Robinson uses ethos to, I mean that he is trying to get you to trust him. If I say Robinson uses logos to, I mean he is trying to appeal to your common sense. Don't be afraid to use those. They're like ancient Greek methods of talking about rhetoric that still work today, and they're actually kind of foolproof. If you look them up and think about how they work, you're probably going to be right. But I'm going to post something on those, just an image that's always helped my students. Okay, last thing I want to do is show you guys how I would perform a little rhetorical analysis, so you know that I walk the walk and don't just talk the talk. There's a reading that no one chose to do, which I happen to love, called Mike Rose's I Just Want to Be Average. So all I'm going to do is just pick two things to analyze and show you on the screen my handwriting, which is kind of bad. But it's just showing you in a couple of paragraphs how I would do a rhetorical analysis. It puts into practice the things I'm talking about, in the hopes that you guys are going to pick up what I'm throwing down. I've decided that I really like this piece by Rose. That's where I start. Do you like the work or don't you? And then I ask, well, what makes me like it? It's fun to read, I decide, and it's smart. Really readable. I feel like I can relate to it. I'm also drawn to the people in Rose's essay or story. And I also think Rose makes great use of his ethos. So now to do a rhetorical analysis, I have to ask, all right, what specifically makes it fun, relatable, smart? When I'm trying to answer these questions, I am trying to do rhetorical analysis. So in my example, you'll see that I talk about word choice, and then I connect my discussion of word choice to a discussion about structure. Okay, here we go. I'm going to pull it up on my phone to read it off to you. And try, hopefully with some success, to show it to you. Okay, there we go with paragraph 1. I hope this works. Okay. One of the most appealing features of Rose's writing is how relatable it is. Even if what happened to the characters in Rose's essay didn't happen to the reader, it still feels as though it could have, or as though what happens to the people in Rose's tale of miseducation actually matters. Rose achieves this partly through making the essay colloquial, kind of chatty, which gives the readers the sensation that they are in these classrooms with Rose, watching students struggle through work and life. Rose uses phrases like lost it and face-turning slaps. The phrases are casual but also literary, pretty. Rose's words are also honest. He tells it like it is. Quote, I was placed in the vocational track, he writes, a euphemism for the bottom level. When we're done reading, we like Rose. We wish we'd gone to school with him. Okay. That might have gotten all crazy and you wouldn't have been able to read it at all, but you could just pause the video. Okay. All right. Second paragraph. What helps make Rose's essay relatable and readable too is its structure. It's told mostly in a narrative form. Storytelling is one of the oldest and best ways of conveying information, and Rose seems to have caught on to that and ridden its coattails. Quote, there was Ted Richard, he writes. Quote, and then there was Ken Harvey. Rose tells of the great Jack McFarland, the teacher who saved his life by making him love books. Through these stories of these boys, and not through stuffy academic prose, we learn about what happens when you treat tough kids like problems. So, little discussion on word choice. Not great examples, but I did the best with the time I had, and a little discussion on structure, giving examples and explaining like what their potential effect is on audiences, whether they had their intended effect. So that's it, you guys. That's all I have for you. A bit of a long video this evening. I just had a lot to say. As usual, I really do, that you guys found it of value. Please feel free to use my sample as a template. Use like phrases that I'm using that sound academic to you and you're like, why can't I use that? Well, you can. And please also check out the sample student papers in the Green Resources tab. If this thing is just kicking your butt, please tell me. Please get in touch with me so I can help you out. I wish you guys the best with your work, and y'all have a wonderful week. Thanks for watching.